All right, so we're really diving deep today into canine nutrition.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, how a cancer diagnosis kind of changes things up in those dog bowls.
Uh-huh.
You share this study from the Journal of Veterinary Internal Medicine, so
Yeah.
pretty clearly you're interested in this topic.
Oh, absolutely. And this study is really fascinating because it goes right to those dog owners. It surveyed 128 of them
Wow.
at UC Davis Oncology Service right after their pup got diagnosed.
Oh, wow.
And they asked them, like, straight up, what changes did you make to your dog's diet
Uh-huh.
and supplements, which I think is so important,
Yeah.
because it gives us a real glimpse into, like, what's actually happening.
Yeah, and it's not just like a few little changes here and there, right? It's like, pretty big.
Right.
A pretty big percentage of owners, like almost 55%,
Yeah, almost 55%.
reported making changes.
Yeah, it's pretty significant.
So what's driving that? Like, what is it?
Well, one of the, I think, most interesting things that they found is this rise in home-prepared foods.
That's interesting.
So before the diagnosis, only about 27% of owners were making, home-cooked meals, but after, over 40%.
Wow, that's a big jump.
Huge jump.
Do you think that's like a reflection of what we see with human nutrition too?
Oh, for sure.
Like that movement to like fresh whole foods,
I think so, yeah. That desire for control over ingredients.
Yeah.
Moving away from, processed foods and wanting to give the most natural possible thing,
And the emotional aspect too, right? Like, I mean.
Oh, for sure.
If you get a cancer diagnosis for your dog,
It's got to be stressful.
it's got to be like one of the most stressful.
Then the wanting to just do everything you can.
Everything.
Including, like, giving them the best food possible.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But it's not like people are totally ditching the commercial foods, right? They're
No.
still
They're
using it.
using it in conjunction, it seems like.
Yeah.
It's more about, like, finding that balance. So incorporating those home-cooked meals.
Right.
Alongside the commercial food.
Yeah.
To maybe address specific things.
Yeah.
Like loss of appetite was actually the top
Okay.
reason, people said.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, you want to entice them to eat.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when they're going through treatment. So you experiment, right?
Yeah.
With different flavors and textures and all that.
Well, and a good chunk of owners, like 28%,
Nearly.
switched based on their vet's recommendation, which is
great.
that's good.
Yeah. It shows that they're having those conversations.
Right.
But there's, almost half.
Okay.
But the owners, they put other.
Oh, other.
And I'm always curious about,
What's other?
what's other? What falls into that category?
What do you think?
Well, we talked about the whole, like, moving to Whole Foods and,
Yeah.
maybe concerns about commercial pet food in general. But I also think about, like, all the information online.
Oh, yeah.
It's like owners are just, like, bombarded with it. And
Yeah.
it's really hard to, like, know
What to trust.
who to trust, what's credible.
Yeah, it can be really tricky.
For sure.
And while we're talking commercial diets, there was an interesting shift away from grain-free
Yeah.
that this study found.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Before the diagnosis, it was like 22% of dogs were on grain-free, but then after, only 14%.
Yeah.
So is that all just because of those reports about grain-free diets and heart issues?
I think that definitely had an impact on how people perceive it.
Right.
But I think it's a little more nuanced than that,
Yeah.
I think vets are recommending other types of diets
Okay.
that they feel are more suitable for dogs with cancer.
Okay.
So maybe focusing on specific nutrient profiles,
Right.
digestibility, things like that.
Yeah.
Really thinking about, like, what's the best dietary strategy overall?
Right. To really support them through that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And thinking about supporting them overall, the study also looked at supplement use and joint support. Like, that makes sense, right?
Oh, yeah.
Older dogs are more prone to cancer and joint problems, so that was popular before and after.
Sure, it makes sense.
But then there was a noticeable, like, spike
Yeah.
after the diagnosis in herbal supplements,
Yeah.
specifically mushroom supplements and CBD THC.
Interesting, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are we seeing a trend toward, like, more alternative?
It seems that way. A lot of people are exploring those options.
Yeah.
But it's really important to remember that, like, the research on
Yeah.
these things is still very much like in its early stages.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's anecdotal evidence and some, you know, promising in vitro studies and things,
right.
but we need like way more, you know?
Yeah.
Rigorous research.
Right. To really know.
To really know, yeah.
Okay, so how effective they are and if they're safe.
Right, especially when you think about, you know, using them alongside conventional treatment.
Right. You don't know what those interactions could be.
Right, exactly.
And that kind of brings us back to like vets and owners talking, right?
Absolutely.
Because like, how do you balance, you know, that wanting to explore everything and also having,
right,
you know, those evidence-based recommendations?
Exactly. And that's where, you know, that conversation with your vet is so crucial.
Yeah.
You know, they can really help sort of weigh those potential benefits and risks and ensure there aren't interactions, you know, with any other medications and just kind of guide you towards reputable sources if that's something you want to try.
Okay. All right. And before we move on, I want to bring up one more.
Okay.
Kind of fascinating tidbit from the study.
Yeah.
Okay. So they found this correlation between median family income. Okay.
Interesting.
And how likely owners were to change their dog's diet.
Oh, wow.
After a cancer diagnosis.
Okay.
Higher income areas were actually less likely to make changes to their dog's food.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that is really interesting. I wonder what's behind that.
What could that be?
Yeah, like is it different access to information?
Right.
You know, are people in higher income areas maybe
Yeah.
more likely to like consult with a board certified veterinary nutritionist?
Yeah.
Or have, you know, more specialty pet food stores or,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
Or maybe they like trust their vets more.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be trust.
Yeah, and are like more willing to just
Right.
kind of go with the vet's recommendations.
Yeah.
It could be a lot of things.
It could be a whole like a combination of factors, really.
Right.
Yeah, really fascinating.
Different priorities, maybe even when it comes to pet care.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
It's complex.
Yeah.
And it really highlights how like these socioeconomic factors can play a role, you know,
Totally.
in those decisions that we make about our pet's health.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder to like look at the big picture.
Definitely.
And that's what we're going to keep doing in the next part of our deep dive here.
Yeah.
We're going to explore like more of the nuances
For sure.
of these dietary changes and what they really mean for dogs facing cancer. So stay tuned.
Absolutely.
Welcome back. So that income thing we were talking about, it's really got me thinking.
Yeah.
It's like a reminder that there's
so much more to it.
so much more to canine nutrition than just what goes in the bowl, right?
Right. Yeah. Like access to information,
Yeah.
socioeconomic factors, you know,
Yeah.
it all plays a role.
It all comes into play.
Yeah. Especially during like, you know, a health crisis like that.
Yeah. And while we don't have all the answers, like it's so cool that research like this can lead to more questions.
Yeah, totally. It opens up like whole new avenues to explore.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And speaking of peeling back layers,
Okay.
let's dive into like some of the specific changes that owners made.
Yeah.
So we talked about that increase in home prepared food.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious, like, what were they actually making? Like, were there any common themes?
Right. What were they cooking up? That's a really good question.
Yeah.
And, you know, unfortunately, the study didn't really
dive
into like that level of detail, but it would be so insightful to know. Like if there were any patterns there, like
what protein were they using?
Yeah, were they all about chicken or were they like, you know,
were they doing like, you know, beef and
yeah, or like exotic meats or what, you know, and what kinds of vegetables, you know?
Were they like steaming everything or roasting?
Yeah, were there like certain cooking methods that were more popular?
Yeah, I bet you there's a whole world of
I'm sure
canine culinary creativity out there.
I bet.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's really important to remember that even with the best intentions, like sometimes homemade diets can be lacking in essential nutrients.
They might be missing something.
Exactly.
Did this study address that?
You know, they didn't go into specifics.
Okay.
But they did say that, like, most owners were still using commercial food alongside those home-cooked meals. So it seems like it's about, like, finding that...
Sauce.
Yeah, like that sweet spot where you're, like, incorporating fresh ingredients,
right,
but also making sure you're still getting,
all the good stuff,
all the nutrients that they need
yeah,
from a complete and balanced diet.
Yeah, and maybe, you're enticing a picky eater too.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's really like multifaceted, you know?
It is.
And it really highlights the need, I think, for more
Yeah.
resources and guidance for those owners that are interested in.
Right, because if you're gonna do it,
Yeah.
you want to do it right.
Yeah, you got to do it right.
Yeah.
Imagine like if there were like evidence-based recipes.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Like formulated for dogs with cancer.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like taking into account like their specific needs.
Yeah.
Potential sensitivities and all that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a need for that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and speaking of specific needs,
Yeah.
let's go back to the grain-free thing
Okay.
that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
That decline after the diagnosis.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Do you think it's only because of the DCM, or could it be other reasons why vets are recommending against it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I wonder if it has something to do with the types of carbohydrates that are used in grain-free diets,
Right.
They often rely on like potatoes and legumes and things like that, and those can impact blood sugar levels.
Right.
And that might be a concern,
Yeah.
for dogs with certain types of cancer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then there's also like digestibility,
Yeah. Yeah.
Some dogs just don't handle those.
Right, they don't tolerate.
They don't tolerate those alternative carbohydrate sources
Yeah.
as well, and that can lead to like digestive upset,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
especially during treatment when their system's already
Oh, yeah.
kind of under stress.
Stressed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just shows that, like, what works for one dog
Right.
doesn't work for another.
Exactly.
Right.
And those individual sensitivities are so important to consider.
Especially with cancer.
Right. Especially when you're dealing with like such a complex,
Right.
medical condition.
It's not just like a one-size-fits-all.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and since we're talking about individual needs,
Okay.
let's talk about the supplements.
Okay.
So the study found an increase in the use of herbal supplements,
Uh-huh.
like Bumschumann products and CBD, THC.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like owners are really
They're open to it.
open to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's the current research?
Right.
Like, what do we know?
Yeah. Where's the science at?
Yeah.
It's a rapidly evolving field,
Okay.
but the research is still
Yeah.
quite limited.
Okay.
There's a lot of anecdotal evidence out there.
Yeah.
And some early studies that suggest there could be some benefit, particularly in terms of like managing side effects, from chemo and things like that.
Right. Right.
But we need more.
We need more to really know.
More, yeah, like those rigorous controlled trials.
Yeah.
To really understand, like
Right, because there's like that balance, right,
Yeah.
of wanting to
wanting to try and
try everything and then also like having evidence to back it up.
Exactly, and it's hard,
Yeah.
when you're in that situation.
You just want to do whatever you can.
You just want to help your dog.
Yeah.
And I think it's totally understandable that people are drawn to
Yeah.
these alternative therapies because they often have this perception of being
Yeah.
more natural
Right.
or less
Gentler.
Yeah, than conventional treatments. But it's important to keep in mind that even natural substances
Yeah.
can have really potent effects.
They can.
Yeah, and they can have side effects.
Right. Yeah. You don't know.
Exactly.
Okay. So how do owners
Right.
talk to their vet about this? Like, what are some good questions?
Yeah, what should they be asking?
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is to be like totally transparent.
Okay.
Like let your vet know if you're considering
Uh-huh.
or already using any supplements. Even if you think they're like harmless.
Right. Yeah. Just so they know.
Just so they're aware.
Yeah.
Ask about potential interactions
Yeah.
with your dog's current medications or their treatment plan.
Right.
And don't be afraid to ask about the research. Like is there
Yeah. Is there anything?
is there any science to back this up? Are
Yeah.
there any known risks
Right.
or side effects?
Yeah. Be an advocate for your pup.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about like working together
They make the best choice.
to make the best choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
For your individual dog's needs.
Yeah. Okay. And speaking of vets,
Yeah.
let's go back to that other
Oh, yeah, the other category.
Category of reasons.
Yeah.
Why people made changes.
Right.
We talked about natural ingredients, concerns about commercial food, the internet and all that.
Right.
But I wonder if there's also just like an emotional component.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, a cancer diagnosis, it's just...
Yeah, it's heavy.
It's heavy, it's emotional, and it's totally natural to like want to feel like you're doing everything you can.
They want to help.
You want to help, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes like changing your dog's diet,
It feels like something you can do.
it feels like something tangible, you know,
Yeah, totally.
that you can control.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just like
Right, you feel helpless.
hopeless.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
You know, I think like that emotional connection
Yeah.
can actually be really powerful. Right, because it makes you want to like
It motivates you.
be more involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about like channeling that
Right.
into
Informed action.
yeah,
Yeah.
working with your vet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Making sure that you're doing what's truly
Right. What's best for them.
yeah, for your dog.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that's a perfect place to kind of to end this part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot, but there's
That's
more.
important.
There's more to talk about.
Yeah.
So in the next part, we're gonna look at like the bigger
Okay.
implications of all this and kind of
Right. The bigger picture.
the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
stay tuned. We
Okay.
covered so much
Yeah.
in this deep dive.
Yeah.
Like from those income connections to the home cooked meals, the grain-free stuff.
Yeah. It's fascinating, isn't it?
It really is. And it feels like we've only just like scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's so much more to explore.
There is so much more to this whole topic.
And what's really striking to me is like how much we're still learning about nutrition and how it plays a role in canine cancer care.
Yeah.
You know, there's this real like thirst for knowledge out there, both from owners and vets.
Yeah, and that brings me to something that we haven't really talked about like explicitly, and that's like the ethical considerations.
Right.
You know, when it comes to these dietary choices.
Yeah, it's a sensitive topic,
Yeah.
but it's important.
Yeah, because we're talking about cancer.
Exactly. And when it's that serious,
Yeah.
you know, there's this fine line between like exploring every option and maybe promoting things that aren't proven.
Yeah, and could actually do more harm than good.
Exactly. Yeah. And giving people false hope.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
It is.
It's a tough.
It's finding that balance between wanting to do everything you can.
Yeah.
And also being responsible.
Right, and like looking at the evidence and
Yes.
and making those decisions based on what we actually know.
And sometimes like that means accepting that we don't have all the answers.
Right, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is hard.
But that's where, you know,
Yeah.
that communication between the vet and the owner.
Yeah, that open communication.
Yeah, it's so
It's
important.
really talking it through.
Yeah, and being honest about the potential benefits and risks of different things, managing expectations and just really making sure that you're putting the dog's well-being
First, yeah. So it's really like shared decision making.
It is shared decision making.
You're respecting the owner's wishes.
Yeah.
But you're also like
advocating for the dog.
Advocating for the dog, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like you said, it's
hard.
It's tough conversations.
It is.
You know?
Yeah.
About maybe like the limitations of certain things.
Exactly. And it's not about like dismissing alternative therapies altogether. Yeah. But it's about like, you know, approaching them with a healthy dose of skepticism, yeah. Like questioning things and really like making sure you're looking at the evidence.
Yeah. And that brings us back to like we need more research.
We need more research, yeah.
In this whole area.
Absolutely.
Like we need those studies to really like see how effective these things are.
Yeah. Are they safe? How do they work? You know.
What are the doses?
Exactly. Like, what are the mechanisms?
Yeah.
What dose should we be using?
Yeah.
Are there interactions?
With other meds?
With other medications. Yeah, there's so many questions.
So many questions. And it's not just alternative stuff either, right?
Yeah.
Like, we need more on
conventional diets, too.
Yeah, like, what are the best...
Yeah, what are the ideal, like, nutrient profiles?
Yeah, for different types of cancer.
Right, for different types of cancer.
Can we, like... tailor it?
Yeah. Can we tailor diets?
Different stages.
Yeah, different stages, yeah.
Of the disease or the treatment protocols.
There's so much to explore.
There is so much, and it's so exciting.
It is.
It's such an exciting field.
It's really cool. Like, imagine a future where we have, you know, commercially available diets that are specifically formulated for dogs with cancer.
Right. Based on all the latest.
Based on the science.
Yeah.
It would take so much guesswork.
Oh, yeah. It would make things so much easier.
It would make things so much easier for owners. And it would ensure that those dogs are getting, you know, what they need.
The best.
The best, yeah.
That would be awesome.
It would be amazing.
Yeah. All right. Well, so until we get there.
Yeah.
What advice?
What do you do now?
Yeah. What advice can we give owners who are like trying to make these decisions now?
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing is talk to your vet.
Talk to your vet.
Talk to your vet.
Yeah.
They can help you.
They know their stuff.
They know their stuff. They can help you like figure out what your dog's individual needs are.
Yeah.
They can give you recommendations based on the research. They can guide you to good sources of information.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Ask questions. Yeah, like if there's a specific diet you're thinking about or a supplement.
Yeah.
Ask about the benefits. Ask about the risks.
Yeah.
Ask about the evidence.
Yeah.
You know, ask about interactions.
Right. Be an advocate for your pup.
Exactly.
Yeah. Work with your vet.
It's teamwork.
Yeah.
You know.
It's been such a cool deep dive.
It has.
I feel like we've learned so much.
I think so too.
What are some of your like big takeaways?
Okay. Yeah. Big takeaways
that you hope like people listening will kind of walk away with.
You know, I think the biggest thing is that nutrition is really important.
Yeah.
It plays a vital role in supporting dogs with cancer.
Yeah.
And while it's not a cure,
right,
it can help.
It can help with so much.
Yeah, it can help manage those symptoms, improve their quality of life, and potentially even like make those conventional treatments
work even better.
Yeah.
Okay, and that making these decisions about diet and supplements, it's a process.
Yeah.
There's a lot to consider.
And there's no easy answers.
Yeah.
You know, it's about like staying up to date on the research, talking to your vet, and just being like a smart consumer of information.
Yeah, like do your research.
Exactly. You know, it's about combining like the science with compassion and really like understanding your dog and what they need.
It's been awesome.
It has.
Thanks for doing this with me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, we hope you learned something.
We hope it helps you make those tough decisions.
Yeah, and gives you some things to talk to your vet about.
Absolutely. Until next time.
Keep those tails wagging.
Keep those tails wagging.